go to the ecclesiastical first, when I had a conversation with Father Michael of the Episcopal Church, Grace Cathedral. That was very inspiring, explaining my journey of making the Stations of the Cross, making the Reconciliation Reredos, the Eternal Engine, but specifically the Stations of the Cross as well. Father Michael was finding parts of the images that I've never recognised before, and he was finding theological answers pulled from these images. It reminds me of those dialogues that were happening, the kind of fruitful dialogues you have with people of faith who are really genuinely interested in what art can do for his congregation, for Charleston. So that was really exciting to have that exchange, first time, not meeting him before. Why it was fascinating for me to go into College of Charleston is presenting as artists who are open with their spirituality, then having the opportunity to go and present their lifestyle and ways of seeing to younger art students, and giving them the opportunity to do that just so these art students know there is another way. There is a possibility and there's nothing wrong with it, and you could be successful at it if you choose to. They would ask me questions, and ask really interesting questions about process. Why did you do this? And I was giving them advice about how you would approach places of worship if you wanted to work in there. So my whole idea was to go into these places, especially younger generation, and give them possibilities. There are possibilities of working in these spaces. Don't just write them off because of political ideology. All I have to do is just do my inner work. The inner work that an artist needs to do, one of the big things, and it's a big skill, and it's not an easy skill to attain, is to listen, to genuinely understand, rather than listen just to respond or react. That's part of gaining trust. For me, that engine is Buddhism. It doesn't have to be Buddhism, it could be anything. Some form of spiritual practice, some kind of, that allows you to do that work. And also going out and having conversations and dialogues and just listening to people, asking questions and not taking it personally, and just genuine listening, and you're open to dialogue. My Buddhist practice and my art are not separate. I've directly taken the philosophy of Buddhism in my lifestyle, and that comes across in the way I create relationships, the way I create art, the way I create food, the way I relate to the environment, that kind of thing. That's my engine, that's my chosen engine. The other part of that question about how it helps with the ecology of the art world and spirituality, helping these two worlds come together, is possibly remind the art world they've never left spirituality. They try to make little avenues out to make their own little religion. The work of the artist is spiritual, even if artists don't recognise it, and a lot of artists don't. It's the job of artists of faith to gently remind that you've never lost your place. Please recognise it. Maybe that's the role of artists. The amazing role of the FSA, because I think it's a very wise, courageous and compassionate endeavour the FSA is doing, is by going out of their way to actually remind the arts, you've never left us. It's safe for me to go and take on the spirituality and use it directly to inform my artwork. And there are spaces around that allows for that to happen. So that's one way I think that, we've often talked about ripples, that's one ripple. But the other part of it is liken it to Indian classical music. When they're doing their ragas, these musicians go through this philosophical concept of Swaraj, which is, in order to get that creative freedom, you must have discipline. So it's freedom through discipline. Once they see a committed individual, and an artist particularly, even of a different faith, when you go to these places of sanctuary, they see that, and they go, I recognise a brother or sister of faith.